Previously on Badwatch.
We watched Insatiable.
The whole show is one of the strangest things I have ever witnessed. In real life or on television. Fatty Patty is sitting on the curb outside the convenience store eating an enormous candy bar when she is approached by a boozy homeless man. And then he's like, "Oh, you gonna eat the rest of that? I mean, you don't need it, fatty." And she punches him in the face. He gets a phone call from Patty as he has this revolver up to his head. She's like, "Forget my mom. I want to be a beauty queen and get revenge on everybody." And he's like, "Oh, hell yeah, girl." And that's how the episode ends. Thank God.
Hey, everyone. This week, we watched Insatiable again.
Our very first double dip.
Didn't get new chips. It's dirty, full-throated. We're just
Party
going at it.
foul, I think, as they say. He's Andy.
That guy's Evan.
And this is Badwatch, a podcast where we watch the shit out of shit. And sometimes the shit is so shit, we go take another shit. I don't, it doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite work. But we revisited one of my favorite ever Badwatches, a little show on Netflix that was miraculously renewed for a second season called Insatiable.
Yeah.
About...
It was worth it.
Fatty Patty, the two lawyers named Bob.
The Bobs.
The semi-charmed kind of wife. And a boy named Brick, which feels like an indie film that was scrapped in favor of Insatiable.
Oh, but Brick is so good. It's on my Goodwatches.
A boy named Brick.
Sad.
So part of the reason we included some choice clips from our previous Insatiable viewing is because Season 2 does not give you the benefit of a Season 1 recap.
It's a bold move from Netflix.
And it is especially bold because Season 2 starts immediately in the aftermath of a double homicide.
Yeah. It's bonkers. Like it comes out swinging, and I have no idea what's happening. And I was just like, "What?" Because we don't watch any of the other intervening episodes. We did Season 1, Episode 1, and Season 2, Episode 1.
As long as Insatiable is putting out new seasons, we will continue to watch their season premieres. That is our promise to you, listeners, because I really enjoyed this very much.
God, it was a train wreck.
So there are these two people named Christian, who it turns out was Patty's erstwhile or current boyfriend. I couldn't tell. They were non-specific. It's a real shame. But at some point he had been dating Patty, and he is now deceased and in the back of Lawyer Bob's car. Well, there's two lawyers named Bob.
Good Lawyer Bob. Our Lawyer Bob.
Our Lawyer Bob.
Who apparently both of them, we're now rooting for both of them. Because there's apparently a menage a trois.
Well, both of them apparently came out of the closet in Season 1.
Yes.
Which, when we first watched, I was like, I think he's gay?
Yeah.
He's coded, certainly is very gay.
Yes.
And then it's like, yes, the prophecy has come true.
It just makes me so sad that we didn't do our predictions last episode.
I know, that was one thing. Yeah, we didn't, and because we would have crushed it. But
you know what? We would not have seen a double murder coming into Season 2.
No, oh my God! Despite the fact that in Season 1 she does almost murder a man by burning down his hotel room. So
I remember that now.
So we really shouldn't be that surprised by the double murder.
She started out very strong. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, Fatty Patty, who's still skinny. Patty and Good Bob are talking, and they're pushing a car into the lake, and I was really unclear whose car this was, or why they were pushing it into the lake, because the rest of the episode they're driving around in what I think is the same car.
I think so. So did they actually call a tow truck? Because that thing was in the water.
I don't know.
They pushed it into a lake, and it goes like 3/4 in, and they're like, and Bob's like, "This is the worst day ever." And I'm like, this is pretty funny.
I don't know whose car that was or why it matters, but they're standing there looking at this partially submerged car, and she's telling Bob about the double murders because Christian is definitely dead.
Yes.
The drug dealer / boyfriend.
Yes.
He's for sure dead.
He was in the trunk.
Yes, he was in the car. And there was another woman who was believed to be dead by the name of Stella Rose.
Yes.
Who I don't remember from Season 1.
Not at all.
But
maybe they had some new characters.
So apparently our hero, Patty, tried to kidnap a girl named Roxy. And Roxy, well, I guess Roxy's mom is Stella Rose, right?
Oh.
Yes.
these connections.
Yes.
I
Stella
didn't make it during the show.
Because later during the pageant, because that's still a thing in season 2. Later during the pageant, Stella Rose says that her mom passed of anal cancer.
Yes.
When in fact her mom is still alive?
That's what I thought.
Question mark?
The one in the parking lot trying to get. I thought that was her.
No, that's as they call her, Regina.
Oh wait, yeah.
Yeah. No, because Regina's daughter was the Asian American, and we had the discussion of did she adopt this child? That doesn't seem like she has the necessary level of empathy for that to occur. We'll get to Regina. Patty says how she was going to kidnap Stella Rose, but then Patty was kidnapped in the process of kidnapping Stella Rose.
Yeah, she was counter-kidnapped.
It was a turducken of kidnappings. And
turducken implies that she did succeed in kidnapping the first, and she did not.
She did not, but she was dressed as a wiener.
Well,
a hot dog.
Well, who isn't, really? I mean, that's...
Also true. And then she wakes up in the back of the Wiener food truck.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's a restaurant that we're going to spend some time discussing later called Wiener Taco that also has a food truck, which if you have a brick and mortar, why do you also need a food truck? But anyway.
They're trying to expand their territory.
It appears to be the only restaurant in this Georgia town. So.
Well, there's the burger place.
That is true. What do they call it? First degree burgers?
First degree burgers.
Yes. I gotta give them props.
I like
for
that one.
First degree burgers is good. She's explaining how she wakes up in the back of the Wiener truck and Stella Rose is like rigging up a hose from the exhaust into the back of the truck. And Patty gets out of her handcuffs by eating lots of Wiener Twinkies or something.
She crushes the cream and spreads it all over her hands, and then she's able to slip out of the handcuffs. And then she also gets into the front. She gets out, goes around.
She gets out,
into the front
evades
seat.
Stella Rose's detection.
Didn't notice, and then no movement, whatever. It's fine.
Then she gets into the driver's seat,
starts the vehicle up,
which has the keys in the ignition, presumably,
of course.
And then she backs over Stella Rose,
and then rolls forward.
And also, she meant to go forwards apparently, so then she does go forwards and hits her again.
Yeah,
Stella
Rose.
Like,
I drove over Stella Rose twice.
Yeah. She and Lawyer Bob get back in their partially wet car, and they drive.
But they didn't show any. I was so confused by that.
It was very strange.
I was like, did they find another car? But it looked I could not tell.
I'm pretty sure it was the same car.
Yeah, it must be. But they were
because they decide. Apparently, when they were pushing the car into the lake, Bob was unaware that Stella Rose was also dead.
Yes.
Because he says something like, how could this get any worse? And Patty's like, well, actually, this is only half of our problem.
By the other way, I did another murder.
A murder I done did. Then they're driving around till they go to where she escaped from the Wiener taco truck.
Yeah.
But Stella Rose is not there. So Stella Rose is alive, presumably injured, and presumably dangerous and angry.
This was like my favorite line of this episode.
There were so many lines that I wrote down.
I really enjoyed this so much though, because she's like, "Well, we also need to make sure that we don't have any hair fibers.
Yeah, we need to somehow get Stella Rose's fingerprints on the crowbar.
Yeah, like that killed Christian. And so
without us leaving any hair fibers
or hair. And he's like, how do you know that? She's like, Grammy made me watch all 8 seasons of Dexter. And he goes, that explains a lot.
And he says, what would Dexter Morgan do? And cut to the two of them mummified in saran wrap, returning to the scene of Wiener Taco Truck, but Stella Rose is not present.
Yeah.
It's great. It's very fun. Then they are still driving around with Christian still in the back of their partially wet car.
And now the trunk stops, closing too.
Yeah, it was partially submerged. Maybe some water got in there and the seal
The engine works okay, but the trunk, which was not wet at all,
we can say
is damaged.
I honestly don't know. But Patty wants to go on a food binge, so they get some first degree burgers. And who is in the parking lot but disgraced pageant mom Regina, as they call her, even though it's spelled Regina. She is wearing a purple evening gown or cocktail
purple and red
dress.
thing, very revealing.
And she is standing in the drive-through line at this burger place holding up a piece of cardboard that says hot, homeless, and single, I think.
Yes! It was like, don't give cash, I take Venmo. It's
she has her Venmo handle at the bottom. That's right.
It's so ridiculous.
And she recognizes Lawyer Bob's car.
I recognize that car. It's all leased and shitty.
He makes Patty get down so she doesn't see Patty in his car because, again, everyone thinks this man is not only... Well, apparently a lot of people know he is gay, but they still think he molested women or something.
Yeah.
That remains unclear. So but Patty is hiding. He gets out to talk to Regina,
because he hears the hood pop
because the trunk is mysteriously opening.
Yeah.
And I was like, is Christian also still alive? No, he is not, dear listener. He is quite dead.
Faux show.
But he and Regina have some verbal sparring. He takes one of Patty's half-eaten hamburgers and he throws it at her.
Oh,
this was one of the lines I wrote down because it hits her in the chest. And she goes, "Oh, that's my good tit." And then you drive away.
And like this show is like the absurdist. I enjoyed this. And then the issue that comes with, for me with this show mostly is like they're just going wackiness, and then they try and hit this note of like, now let's talk about your food problems and therapy, and it's like what? It's whipsawing between these two.
They do. The tone has some radical shifts.
Yeah, and it was and it was like the middle third basically. They're like, hey, now we're gonna talk about real stuff, and I was like, stick with what was sort of fun, and now.
But then we cut to the other lawyer named Bob, the man whose natural state is to be shirtless.
Yes.
At all possible times. And as it turns out, season 1 ended with both Bobs and Good Bob's wife, Cora Lee, having a threesome. And Good Bob wanted them to become a throuple.
Yep.
And
both of them were
the shirtless Bob and Cora Lee were like, no, you have to choose.
But they were still all having sex.
They were still having a menage a trois, if you will. And I really hope someone made the joke at some point, it's Bobby's choice.
I hate you.
Yeah. And then it seems like shirtless Bob is very drunk, but then sobers up very quickly.
Yeah.
It's really weird, but he says to Cora Lee, "I'm sorry I made you feel so stupid. I'm sorry I made you feel like a whore." And she says, "Who said I feel like a whore?" And he says, Didn't you?" "Oh no, I just made it worse." And
then she spills wine, or she knocks him as he's walking away.
Yes.
It spills wine on his shirt. And then so he's like, "You did that on purpose." And then he rips his shirt off. All the buttons, you can hear them pa-ting, pa-ting, pa-ting.
The man does take good care of himself.
She's like, "No, that never gets old." And I was like, it is so ridiculous.
Yeah, I wrote down still shirtless after all these years, but gay. And they start making out because they were having sex the previous evening with another man involved. Yeah. But then shirtless Bob is having second thoughts. And he says,
"I'm a man of rules."
Yeah, he's a man of rules. And he says, now that I'm a openly gay man, there are things I can't do. And I wrote them down because they were immensely entertaining. And I like to think that this list goes in order of priority. So the first one is gay men can't wear pleated pants.
Yep.
They can't listen to the Eagles. And they can't have sex with women.
Well, there's a pause between Eagles and sex with women. can't listen to Eagles, and Cora Lee's face goes, "Huh?"
I would love it if, like, Jeff Bridges, or is it Jeff Bridges or Jeff Daniels? Who played Big Lebowski? Jeff Bridges? Jeff Bridges walks on screen and he's like, "Checks out, fucking Eagles, man," and then just disappears.
Can you reprise your role of the dude for just 5 seconds?
For a Netflix show no one really likes.
Like 5 seconds, and in and out.
But then she's like, "Well, you are all up in these," and she's like trying to get him in her chest. And
he's like, "Well, who wouldn't be?"
Yeah, something like that. And then she's like, "Well, maybe you're bi," and he's like, "No."
He's like, "No, I am gay for sure." But yes. I did like titties earlier.
And then she says, "Well, I did always want a gay bestie." And he says, "And you married him." Speaking of Good Bob.
Yeah. And then she's like, "Don't be a bitch."
Yeah, don't bring that up.
Like it was so much fun. Like those little bits, the craziness, it's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun.
This part of the episode was very fun. Then cut back to Fatty Patty and Good Bob. They are trying to figure out what to do with Christian's body now that they don't know where Stella Rose is, but presumably she's still alive and still wants to kill Patty via faked suicide. Then I have a legit question for rural Americans. What am I supposed to do if I need to get rid of a body and 30 to 50 feral pigs come into my yard while I'm sitting there debating how to get rid of a body? Oh, wait, I know. I'll feed the body to the feral pigs.
Don't worry about it, guys. Problem solved. They'll take care of each other.
Yes. And honestly, that was topical for Insatiable. Yes. Because feral pigs, they are a real problem, and they really do eat anything. And they eat the body of the dead drug dealer.
Well, what happens is they see pigs.
They're driving.
Yeah, they're driving, and Patty goes pig, and Bob is like, that's unkind.
There's no need for name calling, Miss Patty.
And she's like, no, pig. And so they swerve, and then they realize the trunk is now up, and they don't know where he went, where Christian went. And back on the road, and the pigs are like, ooh, sweet dinner.
Yeah, and then they sit in the car and watch as the pigs utterly consume the corpse of Christian.
Clothes, shoes, all of it. And then we get treated to Patty's like internal monologue. This is where they start to toe the weird, funky line of like, let's discuss eating disorder. She's like, I feel terrible right now, but I see these pigs, and I should just want to puke, but all I want to do is eat. And it was just like, if you have an eating disorder, you definitely need assistance. Watching this show isn't the solution to your problem. So it was like, who are you talking to? Like, what are you trying to solve with this episode?
We're led to believe that Patty is envious of these feral pigs because they are eating the body of a deceased drug dealer. Which
really ridiculous.
Is very, very strange. And then at one point, Good Bob says, shit, I am so bad at this. Because he's like bad at crimes.
Murder, planning fallout from a murder.
So Sexy Bob, apparently, he's the illegitimate father of Roxy, because he had an affair with Stella Rose at some point in the past. Stella Rose is now Roxy's pageant coach, and Roxy is like tearing shit up. She's won the Buckaroo something pageant.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Backhoe Buckers, or it's really weird.
It was Bareback Buckaroo.
Bareback Buckaroo.
They said that, and I said, what?
I was like, is it like a weird anti-condom organization that she is sponsored by? It was really weird. I bet it's
like a rodeo thing. That's gotta be what it is.
I mean, I'm sure.
That's the only logical thing. Otherwise, any other venue thought is horrifying, so it has to be that.
Then Shirtless Bob realizes that his legitimate daughter, Magnolia, is missing. And also, apparently, in season 1, she was using drugs. And
did not see that
Christian
coming.
Was her drug dealer. And so he decides to track down his daughter by calling the drug dealer. Huh. And conveniently, Christian's phone is still in the back of the Jeep.
Yes.
Or in the back of Good Bob's car.
Big Good Bob's damn car.
Good Bob's wet car. Good Bob, wet car. And Patty decides to take Christian's phone, and if anyone contacts him, she will pose as Christian, I guess, to help cover up his death.
Well, because he's run away before. Like, she has this whole reasoning that makes plausible sense. And Good Bob is like, that's smart, and it's making me that's making me nervous.
I actually was really waiting for the farcical elements to come in, where she's trying to text people on two different phones, and she gets confused about who she's supposed to be on which phone.
Just be like, new phone, who gives?
But that didn't happen, sadly. Then he's like, Miss Patty, you need to go get ready for the regionals choreography, because of course they're up all night, and then she has a pageant the next day.
Still looks great. A+.
And in season 1, she did win the Miss Baby Jesus pageant.
Yeah, I had forgotten that. And when they said that, and I was like, wow, man.
And we tried to remember because I listened to see if we did predictions, I listened to part of our previous Insatiable episode, and we called it the Spring Baby Jesus pageant. So we were like really close. So I do think we would have crushed it with our hypothetical predictions. So she shows up for regionals choreography. One of the other pageant girls is bitchy because it's a pageant show.
Yeah, everyone's supposed to be mean.
Yeah.
Cool.
Then
check.
Cut to the Wiener Taco restaurant, which the sign out front is incredible because I paused the show so I could write this down. And I quote, "Tastes like a wiener, goes down like a taco."
No.
And
so sad I missed it.
So Nani is finally openly gay, as is basically everyone on the show now.
Yeah, apparently. Season 1, a lot of people had a lot of development.
It was like they had all the writers from Glee working on this show. But Nani is out, is no longer in love with Patty. She's dating a woman named Dee.
But she does still love Patty.
As friends. But she's dating Dee.
Yeah, but Dee was like, you love her. Like, she said that in that conversation. So I think she might, there's something, like, she went into a book signing for Patty to get her this gift.
Apparently executive producer Drew Barrymore has a book out.
Oh, is that, I think that's who it was. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nani stood in line at the bookstore to get it autographed by Drew Barrymore to give to Patty. Mm-hmm. And our beloved boy Brick, son of Good Bob and Cora Lee, he dated Patty in season 1, but she apparently dumped him for Christian.
Yeah, I don't.
And then he still has feelings for her.
Pining for the Patty Fjords.
Pining for Patty. And Nani says, "Here, give her this book signed by Drew Barrymore." And he's like, "But that's so thoughtful." And she's like, "I know. She'll think you're really thoughtful.
Uh-huh.
Like Brick. Can you not be as dumb as a brick?" And
because he's like, "How do I get it back?" She's like, "Grand gesture," and I was ready for some terrible stalking reference of like every other rom-com thing, but this is actually kind of a nice thing. So I was like, all right.
Yeah. Then semi-charmed ex-wife overhears the two lawyer Bobs talking, and good lawyer Bob is saying how he realizes that shirtless Bob saw something in him that he didn't see in himself, presumably his homosexuality. And Cora Lee overhears this, and now that Bobby has made his choice, she is done with him, but still wants to see shirtless Bob shirtless.
Yeah.
Because they're hanging out for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. Well, she's not giving up her new gay best friend.
No, she is not giving up her gay best friend.
After she just ditched her old gay best friend via divorce.
Yes. Then, to sort of work out his troubles, Good Bob goes to a gym called...
This was so ridiculous.
Gym Aside, which...
How do I keep missing the names of things?
Honestly, dude, I don't know, because that was all I could pay attention to at a certain point.
That's amazing.
Gym Aside. And he gets his own little voiceover moment, where he admits that he does something very cliche, where if anyone's seen Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the boyfriend, who is the Crazy's ex in that show. He's a very handsome Asian American, excellent dancer and singer. He drops his towel dramatically and enters the steam room in Jim Aside's locker room.
After making a lot of eye contact.
Yes. And Good Bob is like, "Oh boy."
It's so strange. Like, he's worried about there's a double murder they think maybe partially happened.
Yes.
But
and also,
it's a 50% chance there's a double murder.
Like, it's 2019. Gay men no longer have to limit themselves to weird steam room sex. Probably a lot of people know he's gay and don't care.
Yeah, it was just such a, like, it was sort of funny because they were like, I'm going to be a cliche. I didn't really understand why that had to happen.
It doesn't really,
I mean, he got a text later about it, but I was like, is that going to play off something later?
I don't know. I really like that actor, so if
maybe
he's a recurring character in this show, he becomes Good Bob's boyfriend or something, even though he's like half his age. But then we're at the pageant show. Patty's learning the routine. She talks to Roxy and tries to explain, like, what the fuck happened to your mom after she tried to kill me. And by the way, I ran over her, but don't keep that on the DL.
She didn't say that.
No, she conveniently leaves that part out.
Yeah.
And then Roxy is like, "Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen her." And then we find out later she texts her mom and says, "Patty is here. Call me. If you don't, I'm going to call the police." And later...
And we know that because Good Bob rifled through her purse and pulled out... What are those
It was like
called?
2 things of brass knuckles.
Yeah, brass knuckles. Like, and then one was like much larger than the others. Like,
she's holding her boyfriend's and her own. Yeah. It's a his and hers set. Yeah. But he's looking through her bag. He takes out her phone and he sees that Roxy has sent this text to Stella Rose and that there has been a red receipt for the
Right.
message.
Yeah.
But no one has seen Stella Rose.
And while they're at the pageant here, they keep cutting into internal monologues from Patty where she's still talking about her food desires. And it's like,
yes.
it's so strange.
Yes, because she arrives to the pageant dressing room and there's a basket of pastries there, which she promptly dives into. And then when Good Bob shows up later, she's like, it was half eaten when I got here. And as viewers, we know that no, definitely was not.
And Bob suspects that she's lying.
A lot of pastries.
And it's after eating a ton of burgers or like 3 burgers.
Yes.
Like, it's just, they keep focusing on it, but it's such a weird whipsaw between the absurdist stuff.
It was really jarring, but I will say, to the show's credit, like the way that she talks about her relationship with food is a very accurate depiction of addiction. It just belongs in a wildly different show.
Yes, the whipsaw, like the tone shifts.
It was so bizarre. So bizarre.
And the music changed quite a bit too. They do this sort of dramatic stuff, and I was just like, but the whole everything else is like so absurd. Like, it just feels like the wrong vehicle for this. But, to give them a little bit of credit, I guess, they were doing this the first episode too, if I recall. I think I remember
and
them.
They haven't quite figured it out.
A season, they haven't nailed it. But it's like, I guess it's okay if you keep trying, but I don't like it at all.
Yeah, they can keep working on it. I mean, yeah.
Please stop, but okay.
Meanwhile, Shirtless Bob and Coralie are out looking for Magnolia, and they're at the Wiener Taco restaurant in the middle of the night, apparently. And the one person who works there says, I haven't seen her, but she's probably at that regional pageant show because everyone in town is there. That's why you're the only 2 people in the one restaurant. Or I guess also they could be at First Degree Burgers. And they're like, oh, why didn't we think of that? And they drive off to the talent show.
So that was sort of a weird thing, too. Like, what was the point of that scene? Like, why didn't you just go?
I don't know. I guess maybe you're supposed to get the idea that Shirtless Bob is letting himself go because he's eating Wiener Tacos.
And he has shirts on?
And he's clothed, yes. Back at the talent show, one of the contestants, Roxy, it's Roxy actually. Yes. Back in our previous episode, you may remember that Good Bob was holding a gala to benefit CACA, or also known as the Center for Anal Cancer Awareness.
God, I love it.
And
so ridiculous.
The interview question this pageant Roxy has to answer is, why are you the face of CACA?
I really didn't expect that joke to keep like walking.
They love that. Someone in the writer's room at this program thinks CACA is the funniest shit ever. Like, forget Seinfeld, forget, any other comedy touchstones. It's about CACA, baby.
And the delivery of the guy is like, why are you the face of CACA?
I like to think they were like, no, let's cut, try it again, but don't be winking when you say it, like perfectly serious.
I want more gravitas.
And Roxy then says, well, my mom died of anal cancer, and Patty has a internal monologue where she's like, no, she didn't. She just tried to kill me, unless she acquired it and died of anal cancer in the past 12 hours. Patty gets a question about her relationship to food, which she lies about. And
she doesn't get the same applause that Roxy did.
No, definitely not. And then she does get runner-up at the pageant, so second place, in other words. Roxy wins, and then we find out that when Good Bob was confronting Patty about how much pastry she was eating, she's like, here, I'll throw the rest of it out. It's fine. She puts it in the garbage and then puts hand soap on it to make it unappetizing, I guess. And then we find out later she did, in fact, still eat the soapy pastry, soapy trash pastry. And then she's on stage when they are announcing that she got second place to Roxy. She has to vomit, runs off stage, and then she sort of comes clean to her food addiction, or about her food addiction to Good Bob.
It's sort of like, why, how did they take it a whole season to nail that down for her? Her character, everyone else came out and did all this stuff.
Everyone else had so much personal growth.
She's gone
this is
nowhere.
True. Yeah,
she's busy murdering. Is what she's up to.
I don't know. That's a really good question. But she's like, I'm nothing without this pageant. This was my one hope at redemption. And I was like, well, there are recovery programs that you could go to.
Bob had mentioned therapy earlier, and they had a
you
whole
could talk
thing
to
about
someone.
it. Yeah.
There are other choices, but fine, pageants are it for you. Then someone screams, and they walk backstage, and Roxy has been strangled, and her head is leaned back off of her chair, so her mouth is facing towards the ceiling.
She's now a vase.
And in her mouth is the stems of a dozen roses.
That she won, I think, from her.
Yeah, and so she's been killed.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if we were supposed to think that Patty did it. I didn't get that impression because it really seemed like Patty was off stage somewhere puking.
Yes.
But then Patty realizes, oh, if Roxy's dead, I'm now the winner because I was second place.
It'd be really exciting for her to. I guess we're now into predictions. It'd be really exciting.
We have to do predictions this time.
It'd be really exciting for her to now have to deal with the fallout because she's being hunted by the police for that murder only, as opposed to the other two 1.5 sort of that she participated in previously.
Yeah,
the other two she avoided entirely. They were great.
The 1.5 to 2 murders previously attempted in this series. Yeah.
Wait, so we never saw Stella Rose again, though. She
Stella
Rose
got run over twice. It's like a real waiting for Godot situation.
Her pelvis is it's like a bunch of breadcrumbs in her pelvis area, but she is making moves still.
Yeah, her ribs are all broken, but she's on the move.
Yeah.
The only time we see her is there's a figure dressed in black trying to hook up a hose from the food truck exhaust into the truck.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
But you never see her face, and I don't think she was in the first episode.
Yeah.
So
I don't believe so.
That's my good tit.
So that's my prediction.
That's your prediction. My prediction, I think at some point the two Bobs, they're going to realize that they thought they wanted to be pageant coaches, but what they really want is to be in a pageant themselves. And so they have a pageant for homosexual lawyers exclusively.
And CACA.
And it benefits CACA. And Cora Lee is going to get in touch with her own maybe bisexuality and start dating a woman who's like age inappropriate.
Well, it was Dee and
Nani
were both like very excited when they heard that there was a threesome involving her. And like, wait, was it 3 girls? Was it? They were very excited.
And she was like, no, 2 guys. And Dee's like, damn it. Because it's semi-charmed kind of ex-wife. So I think that will happen. I think, if anything, the body count will get even more absurd.
Yeah, I mean they're already very pleased to shove people off. It's just pretty fun.
You know what? It's gonna get to the point. Here's my prediction for real.
A new cast in season 3.
It's gonna become an anthology series because at the end of season 2, Patty realizes she has to kill Good Bob because he knows all of her secrets and he's tired of covering up her sadistic crimes. That's it for sure. Also, that actor is desperate to get off this program.
Patty's going to turn into a Terminator. We'll go on a rampage.
Season 3 also produced by James Cameron.
It's going to be season 2 Insatiable, season 3 Terminator Dark Fate. Whatever it is, Patty.
Good watch.
All right, what do you got?
Oh, okay. I had to look at the thing to see what I wrote down. My good watch is, well, it's sort of multiple shows, but the one I'm recommending is specifically the United Kingdom version. It's a show streaming on Netflix called Criminal, and it's exclusive. It's a Netflix original, I guess is how they would phrase it. It's a really clever crime show where there's only one set used in all of the episodes, and it's the interview room at a police station. And it's the same 4 or 5 police officers and the same 1 or 2 suspects they're interviewing. And the way it's done is it cuts back and forth between the actual interview and like the control room where cops are observing the interview. And from just that sort of spare setup, they tell these really sort of amazing stories about why people commit the crimes they do or how they get into these situations. It's without any, like CSI bullshit or guns even. It's really, really interesting.
Sounds interesting.
They have there's a version for the UK, which is really great. David Tennant's a guest star.
Oh, okay.
Who was the woman who played Agent Carter? Haley Atwell? Haley Atwell. She's great in it. And there's also, I'm watching the Spain series now. There's like 3 episodes in each of these. There's one for Germany as well, I think.
Okay.
But yeah,
That
Criminal.
sounds really
Check it
interesting.
out. It's really interesting.
Okay, my good watch is gonna be, it's called Happy, with an exclamation at the end. It's about a man, a strong man, a crazy man, and his daughter's imaginary friend, and their journey together. And it is insane, and absurd, and ridiculous, and a ton of fun. Patton Oswalt, as I said, he's voicing the imaginary, friend, which is excellent. And the dude is a cop. It's the guy from SVU.
Christopher Maloney.
Yeah, he's sort of like a beast of a man to begin with.
A beast of a man from Law & Order SVU and Wet Hot American Summer.
He's great. He's this grizzled, angry cop, bitter man. It's a ton of fun. It's sort of, I would say it's sort of like an absurdist noir thing, because he's got a mystery to try and unravel, but he also has an imaginary friend, and he sort of is like a superhero almost. It's thoroughly ridiculous and a ton of fun. I enjoyed it.
So that's Happy.
Happy!
And that is on Netflix.
Okay.
I haven't watched it, but I know that it is
Okay.
available on that
I
service.
think that's where I saw it.
So if you like the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Give us all the stars and say nice things. And you can also support the podcast by going to patreon.com/badwatch, where you can access our bonus content. We release bonus episodes once a month. And you can also let us know about some shows that you would like us to cover that maybe have missed our attention.
Yeah, it'd be pretty great if we had a bunch of suggestions, so we don't have to like generate content on our own. We just follow.
We would like to do as little as possible, is what Andy's really trying to say. I agree.
If you pay us money and then tell us what to do, like that sounds perfect for me.
Agreed. That would be ideal. So help us out. And
help us. No, sorry. Help us help you.
Exactly. Exactly. He's Andy.
That guy's Evan.
And this is Badwatch, the Baywatch of podcasts.
He nailed it this time.
Oh boy, I didn't even have to look at the outline. I crushed it.